It's that time of year again, when the new Call of Duty is right around the corner and everyone starts wondering, is it gonna be good this year? Is Treyarch finally gonna listen to the community? Or am I just gonna waste my money, play it for a week, and never touch it again? Well, this year we got a pretty unique experience, as the beta test usually reserved for multiplayer included zombies this time as well. So, of course, I had to try it. What is going on over here? What is happening in this establishment? Oh my down! Oh my god. Pop this out. No way, dude, are you serious? Yeah. Oh, what did I get down by? Execute? Are you serious, dude? Just lost all my perks. I don't have any points to get them back. Let's just use that then. Okay, I got insta down. Huge. As I've been streaming it the past few days, plenty of people have asked me what I think of the game. At first, my answer was a cautious, it's alright so far. Looking around, I'm checking things out. And then turned to, I think it's better than BO6. It's like BO6 with some quality of life changes. And now it's kind of turned to something else. If you know me, you know I'm definitely a fan of the older Call of Duty Zombies games as opposed to the new ones. I think my personal tier list of games can be broken down like this. I think Black Ops 1 has the best zombies. BO2 and BO3 are tied for second best. Third is Infinite Warfare. Black Ops 4 is lagging behind at fourth. World War II and Advanced Warfare are sitting below that. World at War is pretty low because it's pretty broken. Cold War is down toward the bottom. Black Ops 6 is penultimate, and Vanguard is dead last. But that's just my personal ranking of my own enjoyment, and there are plenty of players on any given game who swear by the game and think it's the best thing since sliced bread, and they are well within their right to do that. But you can see a trend in my list that I think many other people would agree with. Basically, COD Zombies gets worse every year. Or rather, COD Zombies gets farther away from the original every year. I think it's interesting to look at the comparison between one game and the next, going all the way back to the beginning. World at War to BO1 was a major improvement, ironing out the bugs and issues of the first game, and creating a definitive version of zombies. But from BO1 to BO2, people were already averse to how much the formula changed. Transit and Die Rise had much less intuitive layouts. Maps like Buried and Origins were much more camping focused, and almost all the maps had ways to get many extra revives, such as the mob afterlife system or the buried free perks. This made some players feel like Treyarch was trying to make the game easier and less skillful, more noob friendly if you will. Of course, little did everyone know how the game would progress over the next 10 years. If we ignore all the experimentation of the non-Treyarch games, next up is BO3. Here we got probably the biggest jump, with alternate ammo types, which legitimize wall weapons as a killing method, and the first consumables, gobblegums, which add an activatable safety into the mix. However, the zombies got stronger here too, with faster slaps and tougher mid-round bosses. Training is still very prevalent here to gather zombies to use deadwire or turned on, but it's mostly rounding up partial hordes and timing your cooldowns with not getting overwhelmed. Black Ops 4 is much more camping focused, as the zombies become much faster and more aggressive on high rounds. This is the game that normalized super sprinters on high rounds, zombies that are as fast or even faster than you are, along with more bosses and special enemy types, yet they still kept maps relatively tight, forcing you to stay back and spam your arsenal in most cases. Cold War, we see the war-zonification of zombies, adding the armor system, buyable score streaks, and droppable loot into the game. I feel like the biggest thing this did is move the strategy much less to movement and much more to loadout. The super sprinters on this game are so aggressive that it's really never advantageous to hoard up the zombies in a big group anymore. And in Black Ops 6, this is just amplified even more with the increased difficulty of boss spam, though you're provided with even stronger score streaks like mangler injections. And finally, we arrive at Black Ops 7. So, what's changed this time? Everyone was saying this game would be Black Ops 6.5, as with only a year development cycle from the previous game, a full mechanic and engine overhaul would have been unlikely. And I think people were pretty correct about that, to an extent. But if it accounts for anything, anything, this is the first time since the golden age of zombies that I think a new release is better than a previous title. And a lot of that has to do with the optimization of what Treyarch has been trying to do since 2020. Mostly what makes this game better in my eyes, and of course I can only speak for the beta, is the quality of life changes. Unlike Black Ops 6, there's none of that infamous mangler spam, where you'd have to slog through entire hordes of manglers or other boss zombies every round. This time, it's limited to a few of the Care Bears, as I like to call them, and one Doppelgas per round, which are a good balance of challenging but manageable with the right tools. Traps are more prevalent and useful in this map too, as you're not gifted crazy overpowered wonder weapons like the BO6 Ice Staff or Jet Gun to farm salvage with between score streaks. Now, is using this trap easy? Yeah, but it's a step in the right direction of OG zombies, and it makes farming salvage a bit tougher, which doesn't just make the whole strategy a cakewalk. However, you can get salvage through more risk-reward strategies, such as letting Ravagers consume unclaimed loot, or using the trash can mechanic to trade in weapons or monkey bombs for salvage. Field upgrades like Ether Shroud, used for safety, now take longer to recharge with every use, meaning they can no longer be used as a crutch, and every use counts. Tactical and lethal grenades now refill with max ammos, meaning you can more easily control your loadout and play to your own certain style or situation. All these changes are things I think legitimately improve the gameplay of the style Treyarch has worked toward. Now for the even bigger follow-up question. Is Black Ops 7 going to be a good game? This is still hard to answer since we don't have the actual game, and we've only scraped the tip of the iceberg with Van Dorn Farm. It's only a bare-bones survival map after all. But I think this beta did a great job of presenting the base mechanics of the game. It's not going to change that much in a month and a half, so we know what we're working with. In my video on Black Ops 6's high rounds on release, I said that the game is going to change over time, and that's a good thing. It's how it changes the strategy that I'm interested in, because that's what I personally love most about the game, and I think it's what a lot of the high round players I know love most as well. And here's what I've noticed. We've talked about the difference between the first Black Ops all the way to the last Black Ops one by one, but let's look at the two ends of the spectrum together. I think what 7 has changed the most from 1 is where the strategy lies. The latest installment is much more concentrated on strategy in loadout and economy, having the right tools and safeties to unleash and survive the hordes. RCXDs for safe killing, armor plates for protection, a ray gun reserved for bosses, safety tacticals for horde manipulation, and keeping a good point and salvage economy for trap buys and score streak buys, and rebuying perks after a down. And it's fun. The exhilaration of what you're going to buy in what order and how you're going to stack your gear to carry your team through, or help them recover from downs, is honestly pretty strategically rewarding. Whereas on the other hand, while Black Ops 1's strategy is still in part about economy, it's more situational decision making and movement. That's what I realized I miss about the old Zombies games. Take something like Dat-Strat on Verrucht or Trade-Strat on Derice for instance. These are two of the hardest, most fun, and most rewarding strategies on Black Ops 1, and they rely a lot on risk-taking. Take even first room challenges, for example, which rely completely on movement as you're stuck in a small room with nothing that will kill. Looking at some of these old clips, you realize just how impossible this would be on Black Ops 7. Because on these later COD games, there is no risk-taking. If you take risks, you pretty much die immediately. There is only punishment for sacrificing safety for speed. I watched a good bit of Decal's round 617 game, which was by far the highest round reached during the beta. For much of the game, his strategy was using the trap and running wide loops around it, shooting sparingly with the Mark II and throwing tomahawks. Because there wasn't much else he could do. The zombies were far too fast for him to do much more than run ahead of them, and just 3 swipes would down him with how powerful they got. Still an effective strategy, and a lot of the difficulty and merit comes from being consistent for so many hours, and setting himself up well to survive. But I thought on the early games, where you could round up an impossible amount of zombies in a tight room if you were smart enough about it, was so rewarding, and that's gone now. And don't get me started on recovering from a down in Black Ops 7. BO7 with the point system and how brutal the zombies are. Now, the other thing everyone has been talking about is the upcoming Cursed mode. This is supposed to call back to OG zombies by basically applying debuffs to the map, such as starting with no loadout, implementing a perk limit, removing ammo crates, and even employing the original point system. But I'm calling it right now, this is not going to be anything like classic zombies. It may be classic in terms of building yourself up from a starting pistol and no perks, instead of just slapping a rocket launcher and a perkaholic on yourself in the in-game menu. But it will not be classic in the sense that you feel like you're playing the old games. This game simply cannot support a classic zombies experience with how the zombies act. Removing ammo crates or having a perk limit will certainly make the game harder, but it'll make it harder in a Black Ops 7 way, as you're still going to have to use the strategies of this game to play. Maybe you'll have to use more score streaks, maybe you'll have to run wider trains around the map. Because think about what would happen if they for some reason made the zombies move only like they did on Black Ops 1 on Van Dorn Farm Cursed mode. It just wouldn't work. It would be way too easy. The map is far too wide open, as the physical layout is meant to support the hyperspeed zombies swinging at you like windmills of regular BO7. So if that's the strategic part you're looking to return, you're out of luck. I really don't think Cursed mode will be much different from the default mode of this game, except for creating a challenge on the vanilla defaults by removing helpful parts of your loadout like augments. So it'll be closer to something like playing the first room challenge on Van Dorn Farm. But at the same time, I am interested to see what kind of modifiers you'll be able to implement and how they'll change the existing gameplay for records. I think this mode will be a breath of fresh air, but it will not be a breath of familiar air. So when it comes down to it, how is Black Ops 7's release going to go? Well, I think first of all, the players who are holding out for that more classic experience are still going to be disappointed. If you want anything before a Cold War experience of Treyarch zombies, you should not buy this game. That was the point of no return for what Treyarch was trying to turn zombies into. But if you're open to improvements on the current formula, I think this game is going to be the best they've released in a while. Will it be much more than camping strategies? I highly doubt it, but I think it will be more fun to play because a lot of the elements of what I think made Cold War and Black Ops 6 boring and tedious have been removed. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments what your first impressions of Black Ops 7 are. And if you're still aching for classic zombies, you're in luck because I'm going to be streaming nothing but the OGs until Black Ops 7's release next month. So until then, I'm Wonderful. Thanks for watching.